Hi everyone, welcome back to Cultural Eats with Olivia. My name is Olivia and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Thai inspired soup. Fall is in full effect, which means that we're starting to have some more colder days. The cold is my least favorite season, but soup is one of my favorite foods. So I'm going to show you how to make those cold days inside a little bit more warm with this super easy soup recipe. So let's go ahead and get started. To begin this recipe, you're going to want to start by prepping your produce. All of the produce that we're going to be using today can just be chopped up roughly. Don't stress yourself out over how uniform they are because we're adding them just to add depth to the broth. So right now I am chopping up 3 green onions into just little rings and setting that to the side. Next, I'm going to be chopping up a bunch of cilantro. If you are one of those poor people who think cilantro tastes like soap, you don't have to add it, and just know I'm praying for you because that's a really sad life. So once I get my cilantro roughly chopped, I'm going to slide that over. And I'm now going to chop up 2 jalapenos. I'm keeping the seeds inside of my jalapenos because I like my food a little bit on the spicy side. But if you cannot handle spice, then you can go ahead and remove the seeds before you chop it up. And then I'm just moving my jalapenos off to the side and tossing out the stem. Today I am using portobello mushrooms. You can use any variety of meaty mushrooms, the mushrooms where it tastes as a great meat substitute because it just has that thick flesh. That's the kind you want. Make sure you don't use any small mushrooms. So I'm removing the core from the portobello and I'm just going to be using the flour and I'm going to dice that up into bite-sized chunks. Once your mushroom is all chopped up, you can move it to the side. You can use any protein source that you want for this. If you are a vegetarian, then I recommend that you just double the amount of portobellos used and make that your main source of protein for the dish. If you do that, then you're going to want to use a vegetable-based broth. Today, since we're making beef soup, we're going to be using a beef broth. But if you were to change the protein, then you could go ahead and use chicken broth, veggie broth. Just make sure that whatever broth you use, it matches the protein source that you're using in the soup. Okay, next we're going to chop up half of a white onion. And then you just want to dice this up. Once you're done chopping that, you can go ahead and move your onion to the side. And I am going to roughly slice 1 garlic clove. Once your garlic clove is sliced, then you are all done with the produce and you can just set the whole cutting board off to the side and we'll get back to it. The next step is to take a skillet and you want to add about 2 tablespoons of oil into the pan and let that heat up. To the hot pan, I'm going to be adding my onions and my garlic. And I'm going to season them with salt and pepper, and you just want to make sure you get a good caramelization on the garlic and onions. Once your garlic and onions are toasted, I'm going to be adding about a tablespoon of minced ginger. You can also use fresh ginger and just chop that up and then saute it in the pan. I'm then going to be adding some basil. Once my basil and my ginger are in the pan, I'm going to mix it up and let it heat through for a second. I am then going to be adding about a tablespoon of rice vinegar. I am also adding a splash of sesame seed oil. This is very potent, so make sure you don't add too much of it. To that, I'm going to be adding 1 liter of beef broth, since that is the protein that we have chosen to use today. I am also going to add 2 cups of water. And then we're going to add in our chopped veggies. So we have our portobello mushrooms, our jalapenos and cilantro. And then if you have some space at the top, you can go ahead and add more water to make sure that all the veggies are covered. And you just want to mix this up. I then use black soybean spaghetti. Typically, you would use vermicelli noodles for this dish, but my store was out, and these black soybean noodles seemed to match the profile. They had a really nice taste, and I would definitely use them again. But just use whatever noodles you have hand. I'm now going to start prepping my meat. For this dish, I am using sliced steak. Whatever protein source you use, you want to make sure it's really thin, and just slice it into strips, and you're going to go ahead and add that to the broth. At this point, your broth should be close to boiling. Once your broth is boiling, you're going to let it cook for about 5 minutes to make sure that the meat is all the way cooked through. I then added a splash of lemon juice to mine, or you could add half of the juice from 1 lemon. Once you do that, you're going to turn down it to simmer and let it cook for an additional 5 minutes. Once the soup has simmered for an additional 5 minutes, you can go ahead and serve. In the end, you're left with this comforting bowl of soup. Please let me know what you guys think of this recipe, and as always, tag me if you try it out.